with the pricing topic, and now we're moving on to break-even analysis, which is a technique for investigating the interrelationship between costs, volume, and hence profit. It's used to determine the effects on profit of changes in levels of production or sales volume at given costs and unit price, and sometimes known as cost volume profit or CVP analysis. So marketers must use break-even analysis widely in price setting, especially for new product pricing. And it's a technique which quickly provides useful impressions which can aid decision making. So for instance, it may be used in the boardroom to quickly show backing for certain decisions that they want to make. So the concept of a break-even point, it is the exact volume level, so how many do we have to sell, at which the revenue from sales, money coming in, exactly covers total fixed and variable costs at a specific price. So the exact point where we have covered all our costs with the money coming in, but we've not made a profit yet. So we come back to zero. And it's a calculation in maths. Obviously, you can get Excel to do it for you, and you can play around with it, and it's something that you do and should play around with. So at a certain, so we can see fixed costs are usually a known number. So we've the rent on the building for the next year, per year price. We have certain salaries that for the permanent staff are fixed, whether or not we make a load of these products or very few, we're locked into these prices for the next year or so, and so those ones are fixed. Anything that we can vary up or down, so some of the staff might be on hourly rates. If we're busy, they get more hours, and if we're not as busy, they get less hours. Sales staff, so the portion of their income that's guaranteed goes into fixed costs, and the portion that is commission or bonuses would be variable. So if they sell more, they get more, and it costs us more. And so that goes into variable. So in this, we can get Excel to divide the fixed costs by this simple calculation. So the unit price minus the variable costs per unit. So we should be able to work out what everything is down to the unit. For every 1,000 we make, how many hours, extra staff hours, how much bonus, how much whatever, and be able to work that out. So let me just get rid of that. It's a bit distracting there. Okay, so based on analysis into fixed and variable costs, we have the concept of a contribution. So that below the line element, price minus variable costs, we can call contribution. So here we can have that worked out in advance, price minus variable costs. So then we can talk about at the break-even point, the total costs equals total revenue. And therefore contribution is the same as the fixed costs at the same time. So we can redefine our break-even sales volume equals our total costs divided by our contribution per unit. So that line has moved. Apologies for that. Could be a bit better. So our total fixed costs divided by the contribution. Now, so we can put this in a visual form in a graph where we can see. Now, I'll just flash up the graph for a second, and then we will talk about it in a second. So on the vertical axis, we've got money. So whether it's coming in or going out, it starts at 0 and goes upwards. And we have number of sales. So the units, in this case, thousands or millions, whatever is relevant to our company. But again, it starts at 0 at the point of origin and increases from there. So we can now start explaining the graph. And I'm just going to start drawing it. So if you don't mind, now turn on the light. Is that a bit too bright? No. Okay, settles down. Okay, so we have our graph. Screen is reflecting off the whiteboard. Apologies for that. But we have units. So sales in units. And we have money. So whatever way you want to describe it, dollars, euros, depending on where we're operating. And the origin is 0. So as we sell more, price goes up. And the sales units, whether we're making them or selling them, it's going up there. So will I change? Okay, so let's use different colors. Let's have run away with the colors. So red, because usually costs we talk about in red. So we've already fixed a price. Hopefully that's, roughly speaking, parallel to our horizontal axis. So it's a number, let's say 40. We're spending that no matter what we are making or selling. Okay, so this is, we're already locked into paying this, so it doesn't change no matter what we're selling. That's fixed. Sorry about that. Fixed. But our variable costs, we can add on top of fixed. Once we start making and selling products, we have to spend more money. We have to, we're hiring more staff, we're paying commission. So that's total costs. And this bit here is the variable. Okay. So we add it, and as we make more, that portion increases, so it goes up on a slant. But also, as we're making or selling product, hopefully we're actually taking in money. So once we launch our product at 0.0, we have not made any sales. When we launch our product and we start selling, hopefully it goes up like that. And that is our revenue. Yeah, let's see, I'll write it here, revenue. So as we sell product, we're taking in money. Okay, and that line shoots up that way. As you can see, at this point, we've made enough to pay for our fixed costs. But here is the interesting one. At this point, we can work it out, but obviously we can use the calculation, our little equation, but this should be the same number as you get in your equation. This is the break-even point. Break-even point. Excuse the handwriting. Now, hopefully that's quite clear. So we've got, yeah. Okay, so let's, I'll just go back to the slides. And so why do we do it? This, as I said, it's useful in the boardroom. You can put up this diagram to show here's where the break even is. So break even charts may be helpful to management in planning the production and marketing of individual products. And the thing is that this graph that we've shown is assuming a specific price, a selling price that we have set. The sales department should be able to tell us, well, if we charge X, this is the sales forecast. So that's where we get that black line coming from. We're trying to plan ahead. This is not retrospective. These are not actual figures, sales figures. This is what we're projecting we will sell if we price it at this level. Then we would do a new analysis at different prices. So we might try 3 different price range, selling price X, Y, and Z to see where does the break even point come. And like mobile phone companies, for instance, use this all the time. Very important for them. So mobile phone companies, their fixed costs include the development costs, and that's the huge amount of spending that has gone in the years before this launch date. They have spent billions, perhaps, figuring out the features and so on, elements of that new product launch. So they've already spent all that money, and they need to figure out, they're aiming to hit the break-even point at a level of sales that they know they can sell in the first 3 months of the launch. So that's the kind of ballpark that they try to go with, because they know that competitors beyond that will copy and bring out their rival product, and they will have lost that competitive advantage of the new product and so on. So they're working out and they're tweaking the price, doing a new analysis to see, well, does this line, if we set the price a bit lower, does the price, do the sales happen quicker, which would move the graph up, and that would make the break-even point occur much earlier. If we set the price higher, will we slow down the sales and then we'll hit the break-even point later? Or what effect will these prices have on our sales? So again, that goes back to whether or not the demand for our product is elastic or otherwise, and so on. So in practice, so the chart is your visual display, and it makes it easy to describe in the board meeting. And but pretty much it's just an Excel exercise without, people in the marketing department are not going to be kind of banging out loads of different graphs, because they're just looking at the numbers, and they're very familiar. So the chart is something that they use for the boardroom if they need to explain something to the management or something like that. So the chart gives the visual display of how much output needs to be sold to make a profit, and what the likelihood would be of making a loss if actual sales fell short of the budgeted expectations. So they would have like 3 options, perhaps, showing what the different projected sales would look like in terms of break-even points. So in practice, management's more likely to use the analysis without bothering to draw the chart. So again, they don't need the visual if they're used to looking at all these numbers. Break-even charts and break-even arithmetic should be used carefully. Major limitations of break-even analysis are as follows. A break-even chart can only apply to one single product or a single mix. So if you're looking at maybe a range in a grouping like that, it's assumed in these charts that the fixed costs stay the same, even if total output changes dramatically. So if total and variable costs are the same per unit at all levels of output. And that's a real simplification, because fixed costs can technically change if output falls or increases substantially. So most fixed costs are step costs. We can take on more rented space. If we need to, we can reduce the amount of space. We can sublet parts of our building, or we can make staff redundant if we have to. We can put, even if they're full-time staff, we can put them on part-time contracts or change their hours and so on. So there is room for maneuver. That these are kind of a simplistic tool in that sense. So variable cost per unit will decrease where economy of scale are made at higher outputs, higher volumes, and the variable cost per unit will also change where diseconomies of scale begin to appear at higher volumes of output. So maybe if our operation actually explodes 10 times what we were expecting, we may have to take on more staff, we may have to take on more industrial units, we may now have to hire, have warehousing and all the related staff and equipment that goes with all of that to deal with the higher volumes. We have to buy a forklift truck and all sorts of things like that. Okay, I'll stop it there, and we will continue in the next one with approaches to pricing, which I'll upload in the coming days.